Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area on the BMU Network. I am Mr. Bennett with my partner, as always, the Jets fan here, Grooming and Reviews 101, aka Sparta, aka the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka y'all see my brother. Seem like someone's happy today.
Oh yeah, they kick some fucking ass.
Well, look, I can't.
You guys can go hate all you want, but a win is a win. I don't give a shit.
I got no hate. First of all, shout out to my Pittsburgh Steelers, 2-0, number one in the AFC North. We are the division heads there. So shout out to Catalia tonight. Yes, the black and yellow. We did it again. Shout out to Milani for joining us tonight. Embrace the grace. As always, thank you for your support as well. Good to see you in the house tonight, and certainly for everyone who's going to be going. Yes, Yankees win and the Jets win, so she follows both. So we can agree certainly on the agree on the Yankees. But we appreciate you guys tuning in with us tonight for another edition of the show. As you can see it scrolling at the bottom of our screens are our Cash App. Certainly, we'd appreciate anything that you give to us personally. But more importantly than that, we ask that you, as you come in, hit the like button when you come in. Certainly, it supports the network and helps the algorithm. But also consider dropping a Cash App to the BMU Network, as well as even possibly becoming a member of the network. So we certainly appreciate. We appreciate that. No, I'm not sold on Justin Fields. We got one touchdown in 2 games. So I can't co-sign that right now. So I want to see at least what Russ can do and see if he can certainly improve things. But yeah, too many opportunities, and certainly we didn't get that offense the way we wanted. But yes, go Steelers, as Catalia said. So again, shout out Quincy Robinson. Again, thank you for stopping in tonight. Good to see you tonight, my brother. And just looking forward to another fruitful conversation tonight on the network. And so again, Peter. So I know you already got that extra energy going on. I was thinking about rocking the cap tonight, but I am want to rub it in because I know I have a lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans out that come out on the network. And my brother EGN 2012, I know he's in here tonight. So so certainly good to have your support in these spaces as well, and certainly on some of our other shows. Certainly we welcome you to come up and join us, because I know you forgot more than I know, especially when it comes to like the nerdy geek stuff. So certainly your voice is always welcome, certainly on the Hangout show on Groomers Network on Saturdays. But with that, so our topic tonight, and again, grooming, I'm gonna let you kind of tee this one up a little bit for us. So I know we talk about get-togethers and whatnot. So I'm looking at this in the concept of sort of family get-togethers. I know certainly sharing a meal, certainly with family, is certainly something that is universal. But one thing that the more I thought about it, I got a little bit more trouble about it, because I don't know if it's happening to the degree that it might have done on the regular. Like, yeah, we got Thanksgiving. Yeah, you got those holidays and Easter, but it seems like outside of that, I don't know if the family gets together the way it once did. So I know we got some folks in the house of Latino descent, and certainly I would like to get your input as well on that matter when it comes to first time here, Raider fan. Hey, I'm not mad at you. Hey, thank you for beating the Ravens today. So I appreciate Brother Robson in here tonight. So again, absolutely appreciate that. Mariana Constantine, again, good to see you. Appreciate you stopping in as always tonight as well. And so I want to certainly raise that as an issue. But from your perspective, when you were thinking about this topic, what were some of the things that you were thinking about? As
I was literally talking to a buddy of mine about this recently, and this little is a wound of mine. Explain why. Because before my mother got sick, before we lost the house, we had every year get together, every single year. Thanksgiving, Easter, summertime. I had usually all these barbecues. Sometimes at my house, sometimes at my cousin's house. Really matter, but we always got together. If it wasn't, there's nothing. I used to go down to Jersey, West Orange, Jersey, Bay Pacific, and used to hang out at his house 3-4 days. Maybe I'll come down on a Friday, spend Saturday into Sunday, leave Sunday night. We always had a great time. Mm-hmm. Our tradition on Thanksgiving was him coming up. Not always coming, but most of the time he would come up. It was just a little easier because I usually cook the turkey.
Right.
And so the Thanksgiving, if I didn't cook it, my mother or somebody would, because I cook it overnight. And our tradition was eat Call of Duty. That's it. That was our tradition for 3 days.
Was tradition, right?
Yeah. So shit went sour between my mom getting sick and everything, and they told me pretty much go fuck myself. Great family, right? So it's sour taste because I hear a lot of Latinos, a lot of my Latinos friends, like my best friend CQ, he has this big guy Gary, or my other friends who are Spanish had all this big get-togethers. So I'm like, man, I fucking miss that. I miss having a big get-together. Sitting on the table eating, turkey, penne, freaking whatever it was on the table, and like, that day dies off the table. I don't give a shit what kind of diet you're on. You're gonna eat like a fat fuck, and I will not regret it. We have beer on one side, we have a lager, that's my beer. Then we have Corona, we have Captain Morgan on the one side, then we have Mountain Dew on the other side. We have all this food. Bro, I'm telling you, the food, we had so much food, and like people just show up to my house. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And how the hell are you get in my house? Oh, I'm so-so's friend. I'm like, gee, thanks for letting me know you're inviting people to my Thanksgiving. I didn't care because I had enough food. So much food I had, like I couldn't keep. I was take food, take it. I had turkey like for like weeks on end. And like we used to get like the biggest turkeys possible. It cost me like, I used to order it at BJ's because we would get the oven barely fit the goddamn fat fuck. That's how big it was. And like we're dropping like, I think I was dropping on Thanksgiving close to like over 2,000-3,000 easily in food. So I missed that. Like when you posted last year, you guys doing the pie, I'm like, I missed that. Now it's just me and my mother.
Well, it's interesting because again, yes, I do the pies every year, but the issue is that the gatherings are smaller.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm not to an extent because certainly my family, we were kind of split up after I was born. We had a lot of issues, sort of my mom with her mental health and my father and whatnot, so they were split. But even then, when we became like young adults, we had very large get-togethers. Christmas Eve was my family function, and that was like everybody came in. So it didn't matter if the person was related to you or not. It was going to go down at somebody's house. So it was not only the immediate family, it was the extended family, it was friends of the family, or whoever wanted to come in. Like we didn't care who it was. It was just a vibe and an atmosphere. You also had the multi-generation. You had the kids who would play and run around and whatnot and make sure, they don't get into trouble or whatnot. We would play all kinds of, when I was really small, we play all these kind of games, hide and go seek games, hide out in the girls' room, and they're chatting away and they're talking all this boy stuff, whatever. We in the room and they find us out because we can't stop laughing and stuff like that. So we were, so there was such an energy. It was a happening.
Exactly.
And I don't know if we're doing it the same way. Now, I know certainly with the pandemic, I know that certainly affected certain people and certainly their ability to, to meet and to congregate. But I don't know if we're just getting more isolated or is just the busyness of our lives is such where we just don't have that time to break bread the way we used to. Yeah, go ahead.
My theory is people don't care about family as much anymore. Meaning, like they care about what can you get me. So we get together with most holidays. So we always get this most. So we always exchange gifts on this given day, just in case for some reason because of my line of work, I get every other holiday off. So if I'm off Thanksgiving, I mean, I'll be working Christmas. So it's good possibility I was not going to make that on Christmas Day. So I'll still get to go with them on a different day. Maybe even let's say having Thanksgiving on a Thursday, we might have it on a Friday. We still have it. So we always exchange gifts a little ahead of time because, and we always, my gift to my cousin was always Call of Duty. That's all he wanted, Call of Duty. And, he told me, what do you want? I'm like, dude, there's one thing I fucking hate is people ask me what I want for Christmas. Don't surprise me. That's what's supposed to the gift. And the second thing that bugs the crap out of me, don't give me a gift card because the gift card is literally cold. It doesn't have any meaning behind it.
Look, I love cold. You can give me the gift card or give me cold hard cash. That works for me. So I'm not one of not one of those guys who sentimental about gifts. You give me the money and let me kind of go.
I'm not either. Even if you wrapped a piece of paper with mine saying, a Merry Christmas or something, I love you, bro. I will literally hang that up. I'm here, and he's just like, hey, that's my boy from Paul. That'll mean the world to me.
Right.
That's putting the thought in it. That's why I'm not a big fan of the gift cards. But again, it maybe is easier for you to give me a gift card because you live too far away, and I understand that. I don't ask anybody. I'm like, here's a great example. He's like my brother, like I always say. All right. I send him gifts on Christmas, and every year he yells at me, "Dude, stop sending goddamn gifts." I'm like, enough is enough. His wife looked at me when I went to, a couple weeks ago, like a month now, on my vacation. He goes, "One of these days you're gonna come empty-handed. I'm gonna chop your goddamn head off." I'm like, and coming from a Latino, that scares the crap out of me. I'm good. So Jenny, if you're watching, I'm bringing no gifts next time. But my point is trying to get to is. It's not even the gift giving as much as getting together, giving your sister, your brother, your cousin, your loved one a hug because you haven't seen. Like, well, how's work? How's the family? What's going on? What's new? How's your YouTube channel? How's your your election going for your 9B thing? Whatever the case is, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. I think there's good. And one of the comments, I think. My man Braxton the Snake Fiend, he came in with that, and definitely in the FBA ADOS African American tradition, certainly the cookout is certainly one of the occasions where we get together. But keep in mind, even that, which I agree with 100%. But again, we used to get together a lot more. Back in the day, it used to be the Sunday dinner. You went to church. In fact, if you went to an AME church, African Methodist Episcopal Church, they used to say the AME meant after the meeting is the eating. So you would typically go out. The whole family would go out, cousins or whatever, grandma, whatever. Either you went home, either they were cooking Sunday dinner before church. You went to church and all that, came home from church and whatnot, and you had the Sunday dinner. There was a movie that came out many years ago called Soul Food that talked about that tradition of having the Sunday meal afterwards. I know a lot of people, certainly in the South, that's definitely something that you never miss Sunday dinner. So we got together, I think, more frequently. There was like a consistency of it. You may do the cookout maybe once a year. There may like be one big bash, and then you might do again that you'll do Thanksgiving. You may do Christmas or whatever. But I think that we're losing. I think we're losing that, and I think in part because families are smaller. I mean, if you look at everything from family reunions, which are certainly big in the Black community, to like I said, the dinners or whatnot, the fact that you don't have that kind of steady flow of generation and multi-generational young kids, teenagers, young adults, middle age, established, olders or whatnot. I think a lot of those are kind of getting cut down to an extent. So the cookout seems to be like the thing that we're kind of holding on to, but we're not. But the frequency of it is kind of going down a little bit. So yeah, so it's present. But I think it boils down to, again, when you talk about the nuclear families or the having more than one kid. And the closest, which I think another thing also, I think people are living more spread out. I mean, you used to grow up in a community where kind of everybody, basically you grew up together on the block or in the neighborhood. So everybody knew everybody. Like I said, I mean, even I'm sure and there's some Greek communities, and you can talk from a Greek perspective. If a party was going on, like, so when you used to live in Greece, like if a party was going on, did it matter who came or not? Right? If people
was provided,
that's what I'm saying. If people smell food, right, they would just come, and it didn't matter. It's like, hey, give them something. It's like anybody who came. It wasn't like it was a big thing where like it was like, oh, who are you to come over? It's like, nah, come on, come on in or whatever. And I
remember in Greece, like neighbors, because my grandma was older, she didn't do too many parties because it was just me and her. My neighbor's like, come in. Like I was like, sometimes my best friend. He goes, my best friend George. He goes, don't you ever say you're not welcome in his house. His father got so pissed at me, and his mother like, your fucking family, get your fucking ass, get a fucking plane, go fucking eat. I'm like, yes, sir. And like we also or friend's mother or any elder, we call them Aunt Thea. Yes, Thea. Yes, that, no Theo, or like uncle. And like you, that's how you dress to them. And like I didn't eat, they would get pissed, and I was not welcome in that house for weeks. That's how bad it would be. So I get it, and that's where I don't understand why this disconnect is happening. And this is where the idea came from for me.
Yeah. Shout out to Embrace. She says, I miss the Sunday dinner. Up until I was 14, we sat down and ate Sunday to Thursday, 6:30 sharp. So yeah, I mean, it was as mandatory as it can get, but it kept the dynamic together. And again, to your point about the Greek community where everybody just came, again, there were times when I was a kid, especially when I lived in the South for like 3 years, and it would be like you could go to literally someone else's house, and if you were there, whatever, there's like, here, sit at the table, pull up a plate, whatever, here, have something to eat. It wasn't like a big thing. It was like, but everybody's so protective of their family, even if you live, your neighbor next to you, whatever. I mean, people aren't as neighborly, I think, as they used to be. If you lived in a area where it's like, you had houses, like in like a 4-house radius, right? So 2 houses in the back of you, the house to the side of you, whatever. They didn't have fences. You know what I mean?
No,
it was like you just floated, but everybody kind of covered. Now I get it. If you got like one of them dogs, that's like, okay, well, beware of dog, whatever, or you got a Rottweiler or a dog that's not necessarily friendly with everybody or whatever. Yeah, I can see that. Certainly you got to protect people, but I don't know, what happened to us, why we became so. Or more, like I said, because there are exceptions, but I don't know why we got more isolated from one another than what we used to, and it doesn't, at least in this country anyway. Like I said, in Greece, that's why I want to get your perspective on it. That in Greece, does that still happen? From what you know of, if you were to go to Greece right now, and what was going,
it still does happen, and there's. The Sunday dinner, and Brace said that because like a lot of Italian friends of mine still do the Italian dinner, and my a Latino friend. So I think the only two cultures that I know of, please don't quote me on this, and they don't try and track me down and hunt me down later with a freaking turkey bone leg, is those two. I would say they're big with family. And like, yeah, they might be better and not want to talk to each other, but when it comes to family get together, oh, I don't want to go see Theo. He's pissing me off. Like, I'm not talking to him. Like, you're going, not if, you're going. As simple as that. And that's where I miss. Like, even bullshit me and my cousin going through it now, it might be repaired, might not be repaired. But my point is trying to get to, it doesn't matter. When it comes to family, you're going to sit the fuck down and eat. And you're going to break bread, and you're going to figure your problems. And later on that night, you might go out in the garage, have a beer with a guy, or a cigarette, or whatever, a cigar, a vape, whatever you guys do to bond, and says, hey, we got to talk. Like, come on, stop being a dick. But this is why you piss me off. Like you might look at me and like you say, I'm pissed because you got a better beer. I'm like, Paul, it's not my fault. I got this beautiful locks. I'm using that as an example. But my point is trying to get to, we don't, we can break bread, fix our problems. That's the one thing about family dinners I like. Whatever beef you have with a person, you can be squashed right there. I'm not saying you have to throw hands down. No. That's not going to solve the problem because it's going to make it worse. But you can literally have it out verbally. You say, yo, you're being a dick. Yeah. You've been a dick. I'm like, you know what? Bygone people, bygone. Water on a bridge. We're family still. We're brothers. Yeah. And I'll be straight with you, bro. The 4 people, more than 4 people, who I say they're more family to me than my own cousin. It's you, CQ, King, David, BMU, and there's some more other guys. If I miss you guys, I do apologize.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's almost, it's like it's coming from.
Yeah.
Is about the place? Oh, is that the
This is an old picture. It's back in 2016. I think, I don't want to say the last one, but this was a smaller one because we were going through financial stuff issues. Obviously, you see my aunt's on the side right here. My cousin is in the middle. My father, my mom's leg, and Hercules, like my last uncle before he passed. He's like poking his head like, I want food. But I'll give you an idea like how our dinners were. This is a small one. wrong one. And the other one is like, where's the other one? Hang on a second. Let me find the other picture I had. Like Easter, we always had something going on. It was always. I had another one. Hang on a second. I'm sorry, guys. One of my few barbecues. Like here's like a small barbecue. We're having a family get together, and you smell barbecue, you come running. And like you don't ask. Like you say, soul food, something like every time you hear charcoal and cracking on the grill, you come running. You don't ask what it was. You go like, "Where's my plate?" That's the first question I usually hear. Bro, like, the fuck? I'm like, "Who let you in?" And he goes, "Oh, that dude let me in." I'm like, "Thanks, asshole." But again, I didn't care. I thought that's how I met most of my friends. Believe it or not. I'm like, good example. Like CQ always has a lot of get-togethers. So I'm using him as my reference. And every time I get to his house and I get together, I make a new friend somehow. I work with a new friend and with contact phone numbers and texts.
Absolutely. Like, that's been the thing for some time because I think I might have been at a funk for a while, and I know a friend of my sister-in-law and her husband. They have some friends that we met at a Thanksgiving dinner that they were having one year. They just kind of stopped on through. And since then, they've invited us anytime there's been an opportunity. They've always invited them down to their spot. Anytime he does a cookout, he does like a couple cookouts a year, and he has people hanging out and whatnot. And I just went kind of out of, okay, well, because he asked, I don't want to be rude or whatever. But I just realized the last time we were there, like we were there a couple of weeks ago for Labor Day. And I just realized that, every time I come here, like I really appreciate the environment. Because on my side of the family, like I said, I may have maybe one, maybe a couple get-togethers a year, but a lot of that fulfillment that I'm talking about, it's coming from other people, from other friends, from other networks. It's not necessarily within my own network, and so I guess people may be finding fulfillment in that. Like if you can't get it within your immediate family circle or your children or children's children or whatever, that kind of circle, people are going elsewhere. Like you said, you can at any point in time, you can wind up at someone else's house for a barbecue, a cookout, whatever it is, and I can do the same. So it's not so much about so it's not necessarily about you having to be, again, blood related. But then again, I'm like, but it seems like even with the blood relationships, there seems to be more problems. I think, Braxton the Snake Fiend, he said family dinners means more problems. So there's a lot of things that are, problematic, I guess, within the family structures that certainly need to talk about to say, well, why aren't families as close as they used to be? And what is, what kind of work needs to be done to repair those relationships. Also, Quincy Robinson, I want to kind of cite him. He said, we had an Hispanic family that lived next to my church. I wanted to join those parties so bad. That went on for 3 days. Yes, the quinceañeras. In fact, we just have Mexican Independence. So I know that's been big here. Cinco de Mayo weekend is big. I think a lot of times with those gatherings that I see, because I can hear the music playing like well into the AM in my neighborhood here because of just the parties that they throw. I think a lot of that possibly comes through the fact that they're immigrants to a large extent. I think those immigrant communities, because of the maybe they may feel a sense of isolation or more of a need to stick together. That might be what keeps those communities tighter, and they basically bring a lot of what would have happened in Mexico and their culture. They bring that with them, and now that you're sort of isolated, so we're gonna have the parties, we're gonna put up the big white tent, and we're gonna get the mariachi band or whatever, and they're gonna be playing music all night long or whatever, and these events are gonna be going on. But certainly these are people who are very much, they may not even be American citizens, but I just wonder what happens to the culture 3, 4, 5 generations down. Because again, a lot of times what happens when an immigrant population, when they come in, one of the things that they start to lose after a while is their language. So like grooming, I know you speak fluent Greek, but 2 or 3 generations left. So you get married, you have kids, and say, especially if you don't marry a Greek woman, which I don't think is necessarily a requirement for you, a couple generations down, your kids might not even speak Greek. They may understand, because you might be cursing at them in Greek or whatever, so they may understand you, but will they be as fluent to go speak the way you do or whatever? So I think in this American culture, I think things oftentimes get lost over time. It's difficult oftentimes for these sort of traditions and things that keep everybody together. And like I said, I've seen it even with, like I said, the family reunion in Black American culture used to be the thing. You know, when you talk about 100 years ago, in fact, the last one I went to was a couple years ago, and that was our 109th family reunion. But that was, you know, but again, the numbers. I mean, before it was like you couldn't fill a room. It had to be outside in this big, because they had these big barns and farms and stuff. And you had, you know, so many hundreds of people. And now it's to the point now where you may get 100, you know, to the gathering. But again, you look at back then, like I said, my mom came from 9 kids. My father came from 14 kids. So again, you had much bigger families back in the day. My family, I'm the youngest of 5. So, you know, I think people having smaller families and living, I guess, more apart from each other. Like I said, that's the other thing I was talking about, that you're not necessarily going to just live in grow within the community that you moved it, especially if you go away for school, you go to college. A lot of times, if you went out of state for college, a lot of times you're going to land your first job in the state that where your college was, where the opportunity was. People are definitely much more likely to live out of state, and you feel it. Like I said, because you don't have as many kids or whatever. Like, you know, one kid decides to move to Florida or whatever to pursue their career. It's like, oh, you know. And the next family gathering, it's like it's a gaping wound to an extent. It's
so
because of the absence there. Yeah.
So I have a friend of mine. He's Greek too. His name's George. His brother moved to Virginia, I want to say. It's a pretty far drive from here. But he always comes down all holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter. He takes that, I don't know how many hour drive it is from come down here, and he'll always spend. I'm in Colorado. I'm sorry, North Carolina. He's from. He always come down. He spends 3 whole days every time. And every time I hear background, I'm like, oh, George, what the hell is going back there? He goes, oh, my nephews are running around like maniacs, like always. I'm like, oh, your bro's back? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, his brother started hitting me up, like, yo, Pete, I'll be in town. I'm going to see you. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't know you were coming to town. Thanks for the heads up. But like, living far, it should not be an excuse. You can make time. People, like, a lot of people, most jobs are off weekends. Versus if you're in something like mine, works a little different. You get every other weekend off or whatever. But you can always make the time. Not making the time you live far, that's bullshit excuse. I know you secure as an example. He has a lot of family in Texas. A lot of them fly in every year for the holidays. So again, why were you
got to put the effort in. But again, back in the day, you didn't have to, because again, everybody lived together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that, yes, there's certainly logistical things that could certainly be overcome. But when you talk about, like, anywhere I go, especially with my kids growing up, like, anywhere I went was like $2,500. Like, just anywhere you went, just airfare going, this place, that place, accommodation or whatever. The last time, in fact, that family reunion I went to was funny because that was the first time we did a road trip. So it was like we drove from here to South Carolina. It was like a 13-hour road trip or whatever, which I loved for the simple fact that I had my family in the car. So we stopped at the road stops. We stopped at the gas stations, whatever. I just like just having them around. Now I'm not going to get one of them big Winnebagos and drive cross country with it or whatever.
Why not? But going too long too.
Oh man, too clunky for me, man. But I'm, someone else they can tell you. I may hire somebody to
get an RV.
But still. But they didn't love it so much. It's like, oh, it's so cramped in here. Oh, are we there yet? Oh, it's like, but I just like having my family just all together. I thought it was the coolest experience. It would have been cooler if I thought it would make us closer to be in a car or be in a SUV for like a 12 to 13 hour trip. Didn't necessarily get the result that I need to. Maybe I do need to get one of the big things.
What irritates me with that, not with you, is family. Mine lives like an hour from Jersey. All right, maybe now I live closer because I'm right by the border. before they said to me, "Oh man, it's a long drive." An hour's long fucking drive. I know people drove 8 hours to see family, even 12 hours. So an hour is a long time. Wow. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot. But when I drove like 3, 4, 5 times a year, that's not a long drive for me, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to New York, where it's 45 minutes from Marsh Orange, to go drinking on the weekends. But you can come see your family, your aunt who is struggling with cancer and diabetes and other problems. Mm-hmm. That's great family, right? And that's what bothers me. And like at first, it wasn't like that.
Yeah,
something happened over the years. I don't know what. I'm still trying to figure that out myself.
Right.
But that is the bullshit that not only my family, in a lot of families, are dealing with that.
Right. Do you think it's is this an American problem, or is it like I said, for those of you who've had the opportunity to again see other communities or go and see other cultures how they do it, is this something that just invariably happens when you come to, because in America everything is about the individual, right? Everything is it's such about, you don't have that that collective. Everybody wants to be an individual and apart from everything. Do you think that the culture ultimately does something to people that just says, look, I don't have to tolerate, I don't have to be here if I don't want to be here, if there's someone I don't want to see or whatever, I don't have to work it out with anybody. Is it the culture that somehow taking away that essential thing that kept, quite frankly, humanity unified regardless of the culture that you were in for thousands of years? It was the family, it was the community, it was the clan, it was the tribe, it was that gathering that kept you for a long time. But I think here is just, it's becoming harder to do. You have to be, you certainly have to be very conscious about it and intentional if you want to keep those ties and bonds together, like what we might have grew up on or what our ancestors did before us.
So I will say, I think it is a more American thing because we're so busy with everyday life and stuff like that. And when people argue, at least here, they hold grudges, these fuckers. They really hold grudges long, hard. And they don't want to break the ice. Somebody pick up the phone and like, you know what, dude, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong or you were in the wrong. Oh, it doesn't matter who was in the wrong. It's just nobody wants to pick up the phone and be the bigger man sometimes. Mm-hmm. Saying, listen, let's, and when you do, like, and the other part is people start their own families. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I see it then becomes a one-way thing. Like, there's very few families I see, like, okay, I have my family and yours, let's bring them together to figure this out somehow. Maybe we have 2 Thanksgiving, maybe one on Thursday, one on Friday. We'll figure it out somehow. Have, families under the same roof, whatever the case is. It's just, nobody wants to figure that out, how to do it, how to make it work. That's the other problem, I think.
Yeah. Braxton, the Snake Fiend, he's not feeling the road trips. He said few friends consider being family in a box on wheels for 12, 13 hours. Forget that road trip, man. Hey, I did, but it's weird. It's weird because when we were younger, because we would do like road trips, just being the guys from college or whatever, we would get in a car that was like, it was literally like a 4-seat car, but somehow we got 6 dudes in there, and we drive down like to DC or whatever it was. And just because we didn't have, I think that was part of it. Because back in the day, like if you had a car, that's like that meant something. It's like, man, you got a car. It didn't even matter what the car was. The fact you had wheels to get around on, people didn't necessarily cloud you so much. It's like, oh, you're driving around in that. And we just made do with what was there. And we still to this day we talk about how some of the best times that we had. Now it's like if you're not riding in a luxury or one of them conversion vans or something spread out, it's like the worst thing in the world. It's just a different perspective. I think a lot of it just comes from, again, what your expectations were, what you and again what you had. You made do with what you had, and you were happy then. But it's like now, people have more choices. I think more options. You don't have to necessarily, even the way we raise our kids. We talked about this on a BMU network. We talked on a barbershop show. We were talking about how, like, back in the day, like, you didn't necessarily have your own room growing up. Like, you slept in a bunk bed. You had 2 or 3 people in a room, and it was something about that when those folks got older, they were closer because again, you had to share resources.
But now it's like everybody's got their own, everyone's got their own room, or I got to have my own space or whatever, and people just aren't as willing to live in conditions that at the time it might have been like, you didn't know anything else. But now you get a chance to see how other people live, how other people do things or whatever. It's like, oh, I think I prefer that over this. But if that was all you had, you were happy. So I certainly think there's something about expectations as well that have changed, that people aren't necessarily willing to settle for how things were. They want certain things in certain ways, and anything that's not to that liking, they're gonna think differently about it. So I definitely think that sometimes with success and advancement, you forget what that was. Because like I said, in Greece, you talk about how small the houses were. So that's like, you weren't gonna have like a 5-bedroom home in Greece.
Absolutely not.
But again, on your block with all those people around, and you got just it was the neighborhood. It was just what it was, and you were happy there.
When people got to get together, and obviously we didn't have a lot of room. We're not gonna sit in the kitchen or living room. I mean, a kitchen or a dining room. You find anywhere spot. You might be in a TV room eating. You might be in the kitchen. You might be in a corner in the bedroom. Whatever space you could park your ass to eat, you would have. But again, we're all crammed in the same house. We didn't care. We had Greek music blinking around, booze all over the goddamn house. Kids are running around and playing. It didn't matter where we're having fun. We were together with loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. But I guess that doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah,
we're not like that anymore. I guess we care about tech. We care about what who has the best iPhone, who has the better car, who has the better chain around his neck, diamond earrings. All that stuff is more important than actually sitting back and breaking bread and says, "Yo, fuck you, been an asshole."
Yeah. And just to be clear, also, again, I wasn't talking about co-ed, right? I wasn't talking about guys and girls in the same room. Nah, typically, you're right. A girl needed kind of her own space. But again, it would be the girls. It'd be the 2 or 3 girls in the same room, or the 2 or 3 guys in the same room, or whatever. So I'm not talking about a co-ed situation growing up. But I think you guys get the idea, though. There's like, a lot of things had to be shared because, again, there was less to go around. And especially then when you were having larger families, again, not everybody had the resources to have like this large, everybody gets a room. No, you might get like a 2-3 bedroom spot, if that. And if you were having 5-6 kids or whatever, or more, then look, everybody just, you just dealt with it the way you dealt with it. But again, you didn't necessarily feel it because, especially when you looked in the neighborhood that you were growing up in, everybody was kind of like the same thing. So again, you just thought it was normal for people to live like that. And again, it didn't, you didn't think that your quality of life was compromised anyway until you got out into the world and said, oh, other people live like this. And so you just started thinking, okay, I think that would be, I think that would be better. So, but yes, I definitely acknowledge and recognize the need for, for the sexes to have their own individual spaces. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to have folks in the same room. But yeah, so when you had those gatherings, so again, I know you talked about the food and the Xboxes and playing the games and whatnot.
Don't offend me. Do not offend me.
Well, the video game system. The video game system. All right.
Get it right.
The VGS.
PlayStation. This is like
I'm trying to keep this as bland as possible.
You just created the biggest sin out there.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Yes, it
no,
is.
I didn't.
Like,
no, I didn't.
Look,
I grew up on the Atari 2600, the Atari 5200, ColecoVision, and the Nintendo NES. So if I can go through that, then I don't care about your Xbox or your PlayStation 5 or whatever the latest system is. I really don't care. So like I said, it's about perspective.
The commandment, the 15th commandment, it says Xbox will be a devil's machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the 15th commandment said that. that out loud. So if you were an Xbox guy, I don't know if it would mean you can be friends, Paul, anymore. I don't know about that. We're gonna be like, we might go hands down. Like,
there you go. Sega, the Jason Ness, Sega Genesis. That's right. 16-bit games.
I'm gonna invite me to come down.
And we had a.
Whip your ass for that
one. So Quincy, you must be definitely a Gen X. You're going back to Texas Instruments. You're going way back. You're going back to the Telstar games or something like that. You're going back to where they had the two blips on the screen going like this or whatever, the Pong game or something. You're going back that far. But yeah, I mean, it's the perspective of which you have this is I think is important. But just in terms of those gatherings, what else do you remember from those gatherings? So outside of that, like what do you miss?
Conversations, just being around everybody. Mm-hmm. Like if you looked at me this year coming up, I'm just using an example. Of course, you're my co-host. And if you looked at me, and go, Pete, and I know your mom. Why don't you guys come down for a bite? And I'm like, oh, me? Oh, I'll be right there. And like, I'll be excited just getting invited. And like, it doesn't matter who it was, even if it was like a neighbor or somebody. Like, I know I'll have a good time breaking bread with somebody and having whatever. Just spending time with somebody is a great thing. I personally think. But again, we don't have that, at least on this side of America. I don't know about Texas or the South, if that's, you may know more about that. Do down in the South, do they still do that, or is it also absolutely down there too?
Well, again, I haven't lived in the South since the 70s. So you're talking about mid 70s, 73, 74, 75 in that ballpark. So then it was sparse. I remember growing up I know my grandfather's house was basically like they still had outhouses. I mean, that's how primitive it was. So, I mean, it was very much, I remember my grandfather going out with his rifle. You hear the shot goes, and he's coming back with rabbits and game and pheasants and, again, very, very country lifestyle. And then you also had these sort of, I don't know what you would call them, units, housing units that were like sort of like federal housing units where everybody kind of had a house, but it was like a neighborhood. Every house was exactly the same, and they were, you had maybe a little backyard or whatever, but it was, compared to certainly where my grandfather lived, it was like, man, you were moving up in the world when you were there. But it was like a big block, and the thing, like I said, everybody knew each other. Everybody, all the kids, you didn't necessarily have to make friends. Everybody just, you just joined the group, and when they ran, you ran. All right, where they went, you went, and that was just a group. You played football or whatever you were gonna play. It was just part of it. And again, you just went from house to house. So it'd be like 12 of us would just go into someone's house. And the mom would be there. It's like, look, y'all want some water? Y'all want some of this or that or whatever? Or like I said, if the dinner was being served or whatever, if I'm there, it's like, hey, sit down. Here, grab a plate. Shut up and here, grab a plate and eat. Don't say anything, but just grab a plate and eat or something like that. So it wasn't. Like I said, it was a very. So, but now I don't know. Certainly, it's like I'm assuming it's certainly not what it was back in the day. I think throughout the country, unless you live in a somewhat rural type of area, I don't know if you have that kind of sense of community, the whole leave your doors unlocked kind of thing where people just kind of went in. I think people are certainly a lot more isolated. I think they're a lot more protective of their property, and again, who they allow in their spaces, even if it's a neighbor next door. A lot of times, but it
I personally can speak for myself. If somebody from my neighbors just walked in my house, down and started eating my family get together, I'm like, who the fuck are you? And how the fuck you get in? And you got 30 seconds before I get my firearm and blow your goddamn brains out. That's how I would have been, because I don't know, the trust factor is not there anymore. Most neighbors, I don't know about your neighbors, but my neighbors who live in an apartment complex, I know to cross the hall and two of my cross the halls next to it, and that's it. Everybody else, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you're right. You're in very
rarely.
you're in very close proximity to one another, and it's like if you get a hi or a good morning out of someone as you're leaving for the day or whatever, it's sparse. It's not, everybody's kind of into their own business. The whole mind your own business thing is certainly something that's very much in play. And so people don't get, even those who are close by, even though it could be from a communal point of view, to everyone's mutual advantage to know who's in the neighborhood and who isn't. Sometimes it's hard to kick that off. So yeah, that kind of environment is definitely something. In 1833-07 said, yeah, you definitely can't leave the doors unlocked in rural communities anymore. Yeah, so I think it's changed across the board. I think where people are, it's definitely different from what it was. But yeah, I definitely think that that regular association though, not necessarily having to wait till, because a lot of times too, especially in our community, also what also tends to bring people together, unfortunately, is the funeral. You got family members you might not have seen for years. They'll come out for the funeral. You may catch up with them on the repass and get caught up with them and whatnot. But then, even then sometimes, again, I would say this thing. You would certainly have to be very intentional about wanting to maintain, hey, man, I haven't seen you in a few years or whatever. Hey, man, let's keep in touch. Let's really, and mean it. Like, put it into your mindset that, hey, I'm gonna, whatever we got to work out, we're gonna work out. And a lot of times, what also happens is what I think I talked about earlier, is a lot of stuff that's just unresolved. Like I remember one time, I think it was my sister was mad at me for something that happened like 15 years ago, that I was like unaware, like I was just oblivious to. And I was like, all this time, you could have pulled me aside anytime, again, because we didn't have there was no beef that I recognized. But it was like at my dad's funeral where it was like, hey, this stuff is up, and I want you to know this really hurt. But that could have been dealt with. Or if I might have been, again, ignorant about something or what have you, again, I apologize for that. But you didn't have to let it linger so long to to have that kind of distance. So there's a lot of internal stuff that I think is also rooted in all these things compounded. Smaller families, lack of nuclear families, I think the busyness of people's lives, but then also just, again, not having those tight community connections. I think just adding to that anything personal. And again, it could just be something said, just like in ignorance or just said in passing. And it's just amazing how, people hold on to stuff. And it's like, man, we could have squashed this. So again, the cousin that you're talking about earlier, that could have been something. It's like, look, man, let's just get this out. Let's just squash this right now and just get on with things. But I think it's like,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, but the longer things linger out, it's just harder to have that conversation for whatever reason. I think that's just the stubbornness that we have in humanity that keeps things lingering much longer than it needs to, and it certainly affects our desire to want to get together with the bigger family, and have those shared gatherings.
The thing I realized with that was not talking to family each other. My mother went through that similar issues with my cousin, my uncles, excuse me, and it was years. I mean, years. They only spoke when they really had to, like a family death. Like when my grandma passed away, she called my uncle in New Jersey in West Orange. She goes, her mom, his wife picked up like, yo, Maria's Anna, can you get your husband? His mother just died, kind of thing. It was like, oh, this is really happening. You guys are really talking. And it was like briefly too. And like her other son, her other brother, Nick in Greece, they didn't even speak words. Never. And like that's how bad it was. And like and I don't understand how bad can it be? You can't even break bread with your blood. That's your sister. You came from the same wound, from the same sperm.
Yeah.
Why can't you talk to him? I don't get it. I would never understand that. Even me and my cousin talking, I don't understand that. To this day, I don't understand. Like, it really that bad? You want to hold a grudge over some bullshit? Okay.
Yeah.
Last conversation we had, we were arguing about property in Greece, but and he goes, "I was trying to be nice." Yeah, but we're not. We have beef before, and that transferred to that, and then it continues. You adding more fuel to the fire, or in my case, like I gasoline to the fire at this point. Why not? Let's burn the whole fucking house down.
Yeah. 1833. 7. Yeah, people still mad at stuff from 1982. Facts. It's like, that's the thing too. You get older, you're supposed to get wiser as you get older. But unfortunately, I think people get more bitter, I think, as they get older. They get more inelastic, more rigid in how they deal with things. So they, you're going to die. And have all this kind of stuff unresolved. It's just so it's definitely I think it's just definitely part of the human condition that I think in other cultures I think that the strength of the culture, I guess the force of the culture, if you will, mandates that, hey, I don't care if you guys may not be close and even like each other, but you guys are getting together. It's kind of like that external pressure that the society or the culture or the community puts on you to either resolve things quickly or coexist. But here, everything's so spread out. I don't have to coexist with you if I don't want to. I don't have to resolve this. I can move halfway across the country. I can start a new life. I can literally change my identity here. But in a lot of places, and that's one thing from a lot of my immigrant friends that, because again, I worked in IT, so I work with a lot of Asian Indians, for example. That's like the biggest thing. I mean, obviously, India's got 1 billion people in it, and it's like everybody's into your business. So again, coming to just leaving India. Now, you don't have to come, whether you went to America or you moved to Canada or you moved to the Middle East or whatever, you just don't feel the weight of the culture on you. And you could say that's a good thing, or that's a bad thing, or there's pluses and minuses to that. I'll just say that. But I think for a lot of them, I think they certainly prefer not being in such a culture. It almost felt like they feel bound by it. And that's something that they never can kind of get used to. And again, the kids of them who've grown up here, they're not necessarily as close. So it's like, they may get together for like Diwali, or like I said, a wedding, or again, some larger communal event. But just getting together because the family spread out across the country, whereas back in India, everybody was sort of in the same city. You would live in an apartment complex that had all of your families in there, multi-generational homes, multi-generational, all your best friends were your cousins. I got 15 cousins who live in this complex here. And so it's, so yes, I think that, but I think people prefer it though. I think they much rather have the freedom or the idea of independence. I think they would rather have that than deal with, just having just a bunch of people. But if you got to live under that, then that's all you know. So again, everybody lives at the level of their expectation. But when that changes and you can see another way of doing things or whatever, then yeah, a lot of people run to it and they say, well, look, like I said, I don't have to tolerate, or I don't have to put up with what I don't have to put up with. So you say, I think it could be good or it could be bad, but again, it's going to be based on someone's experience.
And that's the thing. Like all these experiences we have, you can add more to it in better times if you just talk and figure this out. Whatever the issues, you can figure it out. Simple. But some people don't want to sit down and have talk. They're too fucking hard-headed, too stubborn, and they're being little bitches. They don't say, I don't want to talk to him. Fuck him. But when you come into his funeral, that's where you're going to regret, like, man, if I couldn't have that last word, man, I would have taken all this back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay to say that at a funeral. but not when he's alive.
Yeah.
That makes no fucking sense to me.
It doesn't, but shout out to Snake Fiend again. You talked about, say it sounds dark, etc. if you like, but it's just the fact. The truth ain't always nice. That is very true. As human beings, we you have to aspire, I think, to, because I think that the normal human condition is such where it's dark. If you want light, it's to me, it's almost like a field. Like or even just your grass, you have to cultivate that. You know what I mean? Stuff just doesn't happen naturally, at least not these days anyway. If you want things to be different than what's expected, then you're going to have to work that much harder for things. And again, even that doesn't necessarily guarantee, because again, you're dealing with other people. You can't guarantee or assure an outcome. But the only thing you can do is be intentional in your behavior. And that's one thing I said to my family, even at my dad's funeral. I was like, look, if I wasn't there for you, if I said some things, if I did some things that, that upset you or whatever, look, I apologize. All I can be is like the best sibling to you. And, I can't go back and change things or whatever, but here I am now. If something that you need to get off your chest or whatever about what was said or what was done in the past, or now's the time to do it. But that's the only thing that I can do. I can only offer that. And but if you're not willing to, then there's not much more I can do about that. So as much as you want, and it's just from what you're saying, you want to be at peace with everybody. Like, has there been anybody in your family that you're like totally like just kind of written off, exoed out, just like boom, I never want to talk to that person again? Or
on my side or their side?
Well, I said for you, are there family members that you basically had that kind of hostility for, where it would be difficult? So if they came to you and said, hey, I was wrong in this situation or whatever, or hey, can we, or, do you have that in you to move on from something? Or there's some people in your life that's just like, look, I can't come back from this.
He's always a way coming back from it. I never X somebody out ever, because there's always a way to fix something. But I'm not gonna make the first move when I have made the first move several times.
Yeah.
So, when my aunt died, I reached out to him. I called him. He didn't answer the phone. It was a lot of issue there. So I have done everything in my power to say, you know what, I can sleep better at night because I did what I could. Mm-hmm. Now it's on him. It's all on him.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. Braxton saying again, when someone is wrong and they know it and they want to be nonchalant about it, forget about it. I can appreciate that. I can. I mean, I think that any kind of reconciliation or restoration, I think there has to, I think there has to be, again, an acknowledgement. I think a recognition of that wrongdoing. I think it kind of starts there. But if they just kind of want to pick up where you left off without dealing with what the issue is, I think that's, I don't think you're gonna have. If you try, you're not gonna have. You may have a ceasefire, but it's not a lasting peace. You know what I'm saying? You can have a détente, but it's not going to be anything lasting. So yeah, there absolutely has to be some transparency, and it's but yeah, real reconciliation. Or if you guys want to, and sometimes the one thing I realized, we're like, because people talk about restoration and people talk about reconciliation. I think restoration is essentially where you try to get something back to where it was. But the problem with that is that sometimes something can't go back to where it was, because inherent in that restoration, or there might be the faults or the flaws that led to the breakup in the first place could still be there. So sometimes you have to do what's called a reconcile, where you basically break it all the way down and say, hey, we got to do something totally different. We can't act and operate in the way that we did things before. We have to, totally change our behaviors and change our thought process to do that. But that's the hard one, though. That's the hardest thing to do when people, but again, even for a person to truly admit their wrongdoing is going to be, That's unfortunately, that's just hard for us to do. We think we lose something by just not acknowledging oftentimes what is the obvious and just letting stuff go so that you can move on with stuff, if that's in fact what y'all want to do. Now, if y'all don't want to do it, I don't encourage anybody just to force something just for the sake of peace. I don't even believe doing that. Oh, well, that's what grandma would have wanted. That's what mom would have wanted, whatever. Look, if you two don't want it, I don't think it'll have any lasting value to it. I just don't, you know.
The only thing I want to add to that, what you said, is if you can pick up where you left off and not fix the problem, that's never going to happen because you guys are going to have grudges. If you don't, talk about it and fix the problem, you're just going to not talk again in, a few months or a few weeks or a few days. You can go back to ground zero. I'm like, you might talk right now about in a few months, we're back to it again. It doesn't fix anything.
Yeah.
You need to fix the problem.
Yeah, but you got to get, like I said, you got to get to the source of what that is. And you have to be able to say, look, I was totally out of pocket. I was wrong for what I did, what I said, or whatever. And oftentimes there needs to be restitution made. If I stole something from you, I don't care how many apologies or whatever, but if you don't make me whole, you know what I mean? Like, if you wreck my car, yeah, you can be as contrite as you want or whatever that is. But if I'm still going to be out of pocket, hey, we can't get to that place. You know what I'm saying? Until there's definitely something to. Now, again, I may forgive you because, again, I always said forgiveness, that's a selfish act. Forgiveness basically frees you from not carrying all that burden around all the time. But that doesn't mean I forgot about it, and that doesn't mean that we're cool or we're restored or reconciled in our relationship. But I just do that so I don't be eating myself up over that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, to do that kind of work is difficult, but I think it definitely has an impact on the family function. But I just wanted to get back to, because we kind of getting dark now, but just getting back to the happier times. Again, I'd say for about probably an 8 to 12 year period, like I said, my family, we did Christmas Eve because, certainly people are older. The one thing when you're married, it's like, it's always like two sides of the family. Right. And so it's like, and I don't see now, again, my family has done it, at least certainly the environment that my wife and I have tried to create is that we want everybody over. So her side of the family, my side of the family, friends of the family, it's like, if it's open, it's just open. We just gonna, it's not just my side or theirs. We certainly try to bring everybody there. But back then it was like, you oftentimes spend Christmas with the family of, say, your husband. So one of my sisters, when she was married, again, Christmas was with his family at his mom's house at that gathering. So for my family, we did the Christmas Eve. And like I said, it was such a lively, wasn't even in the biggest house, but that was such a, again, it was just a fun and memorable time. You had layers of conversation. So again, you had young kids, you had preteen kids, you had teenagers, you had young adults, you had the adults at the kitchen table sipping on their brandy or Merlot or something like that. You had the old heads in another room doing whatever. And you can walk into any room at any time and you could just feel what the different vibe was with everybody that was in the place. Let's say, but every small overall, but it just had that dynamic to it. And we did that for a while, and I don't even know why it stopped. But again, some people moved away. I know two sisters. Sure, I know they moved west to West Coast, and so certainly them, coming back on a regular. They may come out like once a year or something like that, but it could be for something else, not necessarily tied to that. And again, just like I said, the family sizes. I think both got smaller. Some of my siblings don't have kids at all. So that kind of that energy, that sort of family dynamic of seeing that multi-generation, you don't see that as much as you used to. But But it was the best thing in the world. It was that I one of my favorite pictures of my siblings and I were all together. I might have been like 19 at the time, and it's just to this day, I have it in my house. I may share with my siblings and whatnot. In fact, I did a sort of like a how you do like a earlier picture of somebody, and then an older one were able to get together for a family shot. Maybe I think this might have been at the time my father passed back in 2018. So you're talking about 19. I was so this is like 1988, 89, and this was like 2018. And so we actually took the picture the same way we did back in 1988. So it was like kind of us side by side. We were in the same positions, and everybody was kind of just as a sort of like a before and after. And it's still one of my favorite. It's still one of my favorite pictures because again, it just reminds me of those happier times. Now it's like you try to get everybody together. I may get maybe a quarter of the family together at any given one time, and but it's harder to it's just harder to do these days.
Now, the question I do have for you: do you speak to him often?
As often as I can. Certainly my brother, I know he's had some rough times as of late, and he's kind of been a bit more of a recluse. So it's hard to kind of get to certainly to get him to come out for anything. He doesn't like getting together with a lot of people or whatnot. He's kind of almost like my dad. My dad also was kind of like that kind of old kind of recluse type of person. So it's like, hey, we're getting hey, we're doing something. Hey, we'd love to come you out. Hey, I'll come pick you up. And whatnot, and he's like, he just kind of grunts at you, So again, but as often as I can, like I said, I try to have these touch points, with everybody, and sometimes it's very natural, and again, last time we got together was again back in July when my mom passed, and we got everybody, we kind of got everybody together. And all you just try to just make sure as everyone is good as they can be. But again, I can't force at the same time. So I said my brother, he always knows I'll be there for him in a heartbeat if he needs me for anything. Mm-hmm. And he knows that. But will he do the initiative to do that? Not really. So I, so more than likely, I'm the one who usually has to check up on him and make sure that he's good and say, hey, bro, you need to do, you need something or whatever. I got you. And I just leave it at that. So I deal with people at the level oftentimes that they want to deal with me.
And that makes sense because you only can put so much effort and energy into somebody. Because if you go put all the effort and energy and they're not returning the effort and energy, what is the point? Yeah.
I'm like a Motel 6. I'll leave the light on for them, but that's about as much as I can do there. But let me ask you this: just moving to the family dynamic, especially when you had that multi-generational thing. Are there, and let's say if you're a kid, right? In a Greek home or gathering, are kids sort of welcome in different spaces or different levels? So you got your older folks, like your mother's age, you got your young adults, you got your teenagers, you got the kids. Is there something sort of like know your place kind of deal, or don't get caught up in grown folks conversation or whatever, or is anyone kind of welcome in any kind of environment, or it's like, hey, I need to go play with the other kids somewhere else or whatever, or is it pretty open in terms of let's say, especially if you're a kid, that you can kind of be in any room or setting within a Greek context. And for anyone in the chat, I'd be interested from, again, if you come from like a Latino background or something like that, do you kind of have those kind of unwritten rules, so to speak, about, hey, this grown folks conversation, y'all need to go? Or is it kind of, hey, come on in, they're going to get everything. They're going to, hey, they may even give you a sip of the beer or the wine or whatever, or the drink, and keep it moving and stuff. I know, a lot of households are like that, where it's like, kids were exposed to alcohol, for example, very early. And they say it's one of the reasons why they're not serious alcoholics now, because they grew up with it. So it's not a big thing when it's like, oh my God, my kid's drinking or whatever. It's like, it's it's not the boogeyman because that was just part of the culture. So in when it comes to Greek culture, is there such barriers between the generations or whatever, or is it pretty free flowing that way?
So it's a 2-part question, like I was saying. Part one is no, there's no barriers. You can just go anywhere. But when they're start talking, like that, go play with your cousins, or go play with your friend, or go play with that kid over there. They will shoo you in a way. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, especially if the language is a bit raunchier. Now, I know Greeks, which you what I learned from day one with you, the language can be certainly very colorful. I'll just say that.
Me? Dude, I don't fucking curse.
No, you and your moms and where else that I met, but just the language go. But is it something where will people, for example, will they modulate their conversation or change their conversation if kids are present? Or whatever, or do you get it? So if they're swearing, if they're telling dirty jokes, if they whatever, hey, the kid's here, hey, he's gonna hear this anyway. So it's just, so I'm saying, is there any kind of barriers that people again, certain conversations that shouldn't be had in those settings?
So if a kid walked in and you're in the middle of having like let's say a story about sex, for example, right?
Yeah,
they won't stop. They're going to continue talking about it. They won't. They'll get in detail. They get graphic. Like I had her like up here. Ramming her. I'm like a fucking semi truck. Or they will come up to you. Hey kid, do you plow? I'm like, what? No, I guess. I'm like, I have no idea. What like like older people will joke around with you like. Basically, like, yeah. I mean, do you jerk off? I'm like, no. How do I answer that to Grandpa over there?
Right.
So there is a lot of ways, a lot of things going on in those rooms, like kids should not be supposed to. But again, we are because we are Greeks, and that's how Greeks are fucked up in the head, obviously. But maybe that's what makes me so. Me in a way, like people say, "Oh my god, you can't say that to the kid." I'm like, "Yeah, I can. I just did." What's your fucking problem?
I just say to go back, guys, and listen to an earlier broadcast, especially when we're talking about funeral planning and things like that. I mean, just the conversation that grooming will have with his mom. I mean, it just is like if you're not prepared for that or used to that, it's just like it could.
I'm giving you a warning right now.
What's the warning? What am I saying? Oh yeah,
not you. For everybody else.
It may take you by surprise a little bit, especially in a black home or whatever. It's like, what if I talk to my mom like that or whatever? I get the back of her hand or something like that. So it's a very different dynamic that I'm used to seeing, and it can definitely take you by surprise. So when you talk about then. How again kids oftentimes aren't going to be excluded because that was definitely a dynamic that what you would see even in those gatherings I was talking about earlier. There's like again there's a comment if you can they may not shoo you away, but you better not say anything. You know what I mean? So you're in the room or whatever and they're having convo. Don't open your mouth or else you gonna get definitely they'll shoo you away or you might get worse. If you say something sassy or just thinking that you're part of the conversation. So it's like, the message was always stay out of grown folks' conversation, keep your mouth closed, speak only when spoken to, and that those were kind of the rules. And if you didn't like those rules, then again, go play with your cousins, go play with somebody else, or leave from here. But they weren't going to necessarily stop what they were doing, or if it did get raunchy, then they'd be like, all right, look, y'all need to go. Y'all don't need to be in this conversation. So you would be pushed away for that reason. So again, the dynamic, at least, and again, folks in the chat, if you guys can either back me up or if you might have grew up with a different experience than that, certainly in the black gatherings, whether it be at the cookout or anything else, there were definitely some rules when it came to your place. When it came to certain conversations that might have been going on, I'd be certainly curious to hear that from some folks also. But in your case, it's like the rules seem like they were a little bit different.
There were a huge difference because we were very blunt, I guess. We never had this point like, oh, watch what you say around, a little Petey because he might get offended or he might say something in school. What happened in the house? We never repeated it really. Like we just move on our life. It was normal everyday conversation.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, watch what you say. Like now, like I don't get why people are so sensitive. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It just my point I'm trying to get to is like I people are so oversensitive, but we were exposed to a lot of things when we were younger. And like how we came out pretty good actually. I think a lot better than most of these kids now these days. I hear it all the time through kids talking, and I'm scratching my head like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm like, and I know that every generation says that. Your generation says it. My generation, Grandpa, our pain says it. All of them say it. But maybe our generations probably was the last of the 3 or 4 generations that would say, okay, I'm not scared shitless of what's going to happen. But with these kids now, with everything going on, I think they have it worse, to be honest with you, because a lot is going on right now. Between election, trans, same-sex marriage, all this stuff is a lot going on. And COVID on top of that didn't help either. So they have a lot to deal with. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's again, hearing some of the comments in the chat here. Yeah, so 183307. Yeah, you would definitely get slapped in the mouth for jumping into a grown folks conversation. We couldn't be around the adults. Like I said, with us, you could be around, but you had to be silent. You couldn't, you couldn't butt in at anything or whatever. You get that look, and that look was enough to say like, don't you open your mouth. And that was just the way it that's just the way it was back then. So yeah, I mean, but obviously societal changes, certainly the last 50 years, I'm sure are things that that's like another factor or another layer that's added on to, again, these reasons why people are finding it more difficult to come together, because again, you have a clash of generations, you have a clash of values, that are very different. Like back in the day, again, there were like family values that were sacrosanct for many generations. And you certainly grew up in a time where I think a lot of those values get challenged and I'm not even saying, for sometimes for good reasons. I'm not one of these folks who's like, the old school ways. Look, some things I think of the old ways of doing things were good, and some maybe not so good. I think, certainly I think with the Gen Xers and the millennials, we definitely started to question some things about how things worked or what we were told. And I think, especially if you go back to the time, if you go back to like, post-Vietnam era, when people really started questioning their government, started questioning the authorities, started questioning society even, and started questioning the churches or the, whatever religious base that they were in. Yeah, people started, really questioning their existence. And then what they started to do with that was, adopt either ideologies that were very different from the culture that they made it come from. So that made oftentimes the dinner conversations maybe changed up a bit. I remember I used to watch All in the Family. So you had like Archie Bunker and Michael. They would kind of go at it, again, very different views on the world and society and how things worked and whatnot. And I think for a lot of people, those kind of conversations sometimes did create divisions. Whereas again, even with older adults, like you could be a person my age, right? And you wouldn't question somebody who was like in their 70s. You know what I mean? There was such like a respect or like a line there that or at least you didn't do it publicly anyway. That it's different now. But for a lot of younger people, I guess they go more so with data and information and not necessarily generational wisdom when it comes to how they assess their worth or how they assess their place in the world. It's certainly not going to be. They're not going to based on that on what their family or what their background gives them. It's what they're able to certainly get for themselves, and I think that's often what's also driving that those generational wedges that we talk about in these spaces, between the boomers and the Gen Xers and the millennials, and whose fault was this and that or whatever, and that kind of conversation. And it's like we go around circles on that, and we never kind of get to a place of understanding with it. But like I said, you can only do what you can do. My thing is like, look, I'm open. So again, I'll talk to a millennial, I'll talk to a Zer. I try to have an open dialogue with my kids about the world and how I see it and how they're seeing it, and try to gain understanding from that and recognize the world that they're living in. But people have to be open to that conversation. But if you're just like, well, Gen X messed it up, or the boomers messed it up, or the greatest generation, or whoever's messing it up, and I don't see how you kind of come back from that. But I'm open to the conversation, and I'm definitely open to be corrected. But I hope that certainly what I say certainly is something that can add some value to the conversation.
That give me a good idea for a show. Maybe we can get R-Pain up here one day so we can see his view of stuff.
Well, R-Pain, since he's the OG in this space, man. He takes
grandfather time. What are you talking about?
He takes income from everybody. So he definitely everybody. I think everybody blames R-Pain for the condition of the world.
The sand is not as old as R-Pain. Just saying. Sand is younger than R-Pain.
We need to get some shirts made. It's all R-Pain's fault. So I think he takes the income like nobody's business in these spots, man. But
we should start selling them on Itchy or something like that. Like we make some bucks off that.
He's got a line of shirts he could make. I'm just at BMU. If you want to make a merch line for the BNU network, you have plenty of material from all kinds of characters that occupy the space that you can certainly make some T-shirts and hoodies and whatnot on.
Knowing him, he probably take a picture of me dancing that a couple of times I did, and he used that as a search, like the Greek Spartan dancing now, coming soon to your closest pub or some shit like that.
Yeah. But shout out to the boomer. We love R-Pain, and like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to breaking bread with him again. And if you do that was good, good combo in chat that we had when we did
do that, so we can schedule close to one of my weekends off, so I can join you guys too.
Yeah, we need to get the Jersey crew together. I know Anton. I'm not sure if he's in tonight, but I know he's a Jersey guy. You got Take Heed to the Message. I know she's in Jersey, so we got a lot of folks in the. Yeah, so we got a lot of folks in the BMU space that are in New Jersey. And that would be awesome if we had something where we got,
New York,
just the area, the northeast, that we got these folks together for a get together or even a show of some kind. That'd be pretty awesome too.
Yeah, we can do something like live one day, like all of us in one room.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
We gotta find a location. That's only the cat.
Yeah, we just do it from the restaurant. We just set up the cameras, we set up the mics and everything. It was like, hey, we just breaking bread.
Raising the lights up.
I know, right?
My guy go like, what the fuck you do to my diner here, assholes?
Absolutely. Well, of course we get it approved ahead of time, and we can certainly have that conversation. But yeah, like I said, how generations. But again, for those that know Catelia, I believe you come from a Latin background. I don't know if Embrace is still in here. I know she comes both from a Latino and Italian background, but just from some of your just from your backgrounds, like how was the family dynamic when it came? I know Braxton Snake Fiend says stay in child's place is what the grown people say, and back then if a neighbor saw you acting up in an area, you got definitely definitely the neighborhood would definitely question you. But I'm just curious if you had a different dynamics. I think certainly on when it comes to Black people, I think we can all certainly appreciate. That kind of background. But like I said, just the Greek experience from what we learning here, again, a little bit different. And did you come from a background where again even the child's perspective wasn't necessarily shunned or kids weren't shooed away, that you were part of it, and you just sort of took the incoming unfiltered. And that was just something that might have been different about the way you grew up. I'd be very curious to learn about that, especially from the Latino, because again, they're the only ones that I know of that still have that communal gathering. I mean, it's like several gatherings. You don't need they get together in my neighborhood. It's all the major holidays. Like I said, Mexican Independence, Cinco de Mayo, any kind of thing, 4th of July, right? They get the party, they get the tents, they get the fireworks, they get the, so all those features of the gatherings, especially in the summertime, it's like it's a party every weekend, and you hear the music and whatnot, and it's just good. Another thing I want to introduce was. And this is something that I noticed just from my neighbors who were, certainly good on good terms with. They were throwing a gathering last night. My wife and I went out to dinner, as I said before your show last night. We got back, and they were still partying. It was like after like 10, 10:30, 11. It's like the party was still just going on. And one thing is like I told my wife, I said, you know what? I would want to do that one day, like have a get together or a social where people stay until overnight or something where, look, we typically don't like serving alcohol or liquor here, but, just people hanging out, play spades or cards or whatever, and just leave in the AM. And yeah, you may not go to church the next morning, but, but just have that kind of thing. But it's like about like 7:30, it's like people like, I got to go either because I got to go to work in the morning or I got church in the morning. Or I got something like that, but something like, people, hanging out or whatever until the AM. We've never had a gathering like that. And certainly all the time I've been married to my wife is so it was like, yeah, we're looking for some after hours type of activity that doesn't get us in trouble. But
so we
can't find it
right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to pick up a game. I have to rebuy it again because my ex kept it or whatever. It's called Muffin Time.
Muffin Time? Okay.
Wait, I want you to look it up. All right. But one thing I want to tell you, your wife might not talk to you for a few days because it doesn't matter who's your team. It's a fun game. It really is. But you might scream and yell at each other. But I'm just saying that for fun. But Muffin Time, and thank you for CQ for introducing me to that game. Muffin Time will break you or make you. Nobody's your ally. Everybody's your enemy. Okay. So the game is like it's game inside gaming in the game. For example, like you might ask you, Paul, what time it is? You might look at your watch, and it just got you like that, and now you had to do a reaction to that, and so on. You have to get a little taste of it. But I'm gonna bring Muffin Time between you, your wife, me. I don't know if your kids are gonna be there. All of us there. We're going to be yelling most of the night and like "fuck you," like kind of thing. Like, I'll be the cursing one because it's me, of course. But just warn your wife about my mouth already ahead of time.
Oh, she knows. She knows. Okay,
cool.
Remember, we were driving home from, again, we had another date night. We were driving home, and I just to keep up on your show or whatever. I don't think you might have been talking about Cobra Kai or something like that. And
I remember that.
You were going off, and we're listening in the car. And she kind of looks over to like, what? I was like, yeah, that's Peter. That's who he is.
Wait, so, she's my mom.
No, I think I didn't even show her that show. I need to show her that show just to kind of see, just to let her know that this is where it comes from.
Like recording, you're like, she's gonna be, yeah. She might need a drink afterwards. I'm bring a bottle of wine for her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Now, Now we're teetotalers, man. We don't drink.
You sober?
I've never really had a drink in my life. I had a sip of my uncle. I had a sip of my uncle's beer at 4 years old, and I had some spike punch at a senior prom party. But I didn't know what I was drinking until I drank it. But and outside of cough syrup that may have some alcohol in it, I'm a lifetime teetotaler. I've never drank. My wife, she did some wine stuff back in the day, but since we've been married, it's like we're just not drinkers. It's just not something we do. It's weird. We went to Jamaica a couple years ago, and everybody's there. It's kind of like, get the liquors and whatnot, and we would tell them, it's like, sorry, like, we don't drink. and you would get this look, and it was almost like a running joke, like the rest of the weekend or whatever. The time we were there, people would look at us and say, you know, what's wrong with these people, man? They don't drink, man. What's going on? It's like
I know a few people who don't drink for whatever reason. What is the reason you don't drink?
Mostly, I think because of my dad. I know. Well, I would say two things. One, my mom, because like I said, I grew up with my mom until I was with my mom until about 13, 14. And my mom was very much anti-drinking because it was, you know, she was a pretty religious person. Even though she had her problems, she's pretty religious. But what I didn't understand until later was certainly that didn't help in terms of their marriage. You know, with her problems and with his drinking, that's like a bad combination. And so she was basically like, look, you know, stay away from liquor and booze because I don't want you to wind up like your father. And then I had the opportunity to live with my father from 14 on. And then I saw it up close. And I just had a resolute in my mind to say, no, I don't need to be drinking. And that's just something through college, my adult years and whatnot, is just something I've never had a desire to do. When I was in college, it was funny because they used to have Greek night, no pun intended, but you know, the Greek fraternities and sororities and what they would always have, like Thursday night was like Greek night. And so everybody would go out and everybody would come back smashed out of their minds. Like literally, you're carrying bodies back. Like I know my roommate got so smashed, 4 guys carried him back. One guy had one leg, the other guy had the other leg, one had an arm, the other guy had an arm. Had to literally come back and he, you know, just kind of plopped them on our bed, which he threw up on a little bit later on, stunk up our room for weeks, just trying to get that cleaned up.
I never got that drunk that somebody had to carry me. You know, the worst case scenario was like, I was dancing and singing and it made no sense. I was like, you know, people were like, my cousin like, okay, Pete, that was like, you know, like a couple when I was very young. Okay, you went a little too hard, and I had to drink a little differently. But PM's coming to Jersey.
He wants to hang out with the Jersey crew. I'm telling you, this is where it's at. If we get the Jersey crew together, that would be awesome. If we can get all these folks together, that'd be terrific.
We can make it work
from the tri-state. Definitely.
As I was saying, I never got to that point like that. Now let me ask you a question. Now, a serious question. Like, say, you know, we're hanging out, whatever. Like, hey, Paul, let's grab a beer at a bar. Argument sakes, you're not going to drink. That means, right?
No. But I would go to the bar. See, I'm cool with everybody else.
I know a lot of people have.
It's interesting because I even teach this. Like I'll teach my Sunday school, and I say, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with drinking. Like I'll say that up front. You know, it's like the Bible says not to get drunk, but I can't say it's wrong to drink. So you know, in fact, there have been times when I've been the designated driver. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool. It's like, hey, you know, I don't get so drunk where I got to pick you up and carry you out. But you know, if you want to have your little wine or your Merlot or whatever with dinner or something, I never had a problem with that. But like I said, it was just a thing where it was such a sensitive topic with me. Like I said, with my dad, and just seeing that, I just never wanted to be near that. And so I just never had I just never developed that desire or even having the curiosity to do so. And I've always had the best times when I want to be alert. You know what I mean? I want to be sober. I want to be aware, like I said, especially during the college years, because it was like, it got crazy. You know, like the beer bongs and you know, they would get the.
I never got like bad. Like
the barrel. Yeah, I mean, it was such a drinking at Rutgers. It was such a drinking culture here. And I found it interesting. Like I would laugh my butt off at the stupid things that people would do when they get into those states or whatever. It would be like a totally different person. And then they wake up the next day. It was almost like they had like a transformation. It's like, oh, what happened last night? I don't even remember what happened. And I just early on, I was like, I just never wanted to have myself in that kind of situation. And these days, especially, you know, you've been hearing lately that, you know, don't leave your drink by itself or whatever, because people can slip something in there and just all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, really? It's like, but it's weird though. Now, having said that, now my daughters drink. Now again,
that question.
They in fact they couldn't wait to drink. So it's like we like I said, they never saw they never saw my wife nor I drink with them or whatever, and we talked to them about the dangers with that with drinking around. But as early as maybe like 14, 15 years old, each one of them said, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to turn 21 so I can have my, because again, the influencers or the whoever they see or whatever, the glamour, I guess, would being able to have like a glass of wine or an adult beverage or something like that."
I give you a good example, Paul. Yeah. Like a YouTuber I used to watch when I was vaping, he reviewed mods and juices and coils and all that stuff. He reviewed beer. So it was 2-part review. First, he always crack a beer, and he used to call his followers little bastards. So I'm like, cheers, you little bastards. He used to crack a cold one all the time, and and he tried a different beer every single time. In different world. He said, "You can send me one or recommend it in the chat, whatever." And the other half was vaping. I'm like, I wonder what he's against any YouTube rules. Before I did a whole YouTube, I obviously it wasn't. Right. But you do see a lot of influencers like us drinking on set. I'm like, do I agree with it? Yes and no. A reason I say yes and no is yes, you're old enough. It depends on your followers. Right. Is you also mentioned like, listen, you drink, you're responsible. End of the day. Again, that's the biggest thing. And obviously, I know on you probably raised them to be very responsible drinking. So they don't drink at home at all, I assume, at all, correct?
No, my thing is like, I can't control, I treat them like adults. Like I can't control, they're all 21 and up now. So I can't control what you do outside the house. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is like inside the house, all I ask is just respect my place. So I don't want, and I never wanted them to have, because I don't know how some of their friends and whatnot, they be over or their boyfriends or something like that. And I'd be like, look, I don't need that element in my house. Someone leaves my house and they're inebriated or something like that. Then, then they come to me. It's like, hey, was alcohol served here? I just didn't want that headache. So even now when guys come over.
Now. Okay. Let's say, I don't know if you have a fire pit. For argument's sake, let's say you have a fire pit and with our BMU / Green Review family get together at your house. We have enough beer, just one beer for everybody. Are you going to say, nope, get that shit out of my house kind of thing?
Probably the latter. I mean, I wouldn't obviously be that rude, but I would just say, look, just as a personal, and like I said, same thing with smoking. Like I said, if you got to smoke, go outside, obviously, or if you a joint or something like that, take it. Now again, I've kind of altered my view a little bit on marijuana, on weed. Like I was kind of like I kind of had that on the same level, but obviously, obviously it's legal both medicinally and leisure here. I understand that. I know my sister. I know she's on it, and that saved her a lot because I remember like she used to be like have like a cocktail of drugs that she was on, like pain meds and stuff like that, and she was able to get herself off of a lot of that stuff just with the medicinal, marijuana and things like that. So I've changed my views on weed over the years. Now, again, it's not for me. It's not for,
not
but
for either, to be honest with you.
It's but if it's something that can truly help people, especially when it comes to pain management, I'm like, okay, but I just don't want to smell it. I've been around back in the day, folks would smoke weed and whatnot. That smell, I just can't get it out of my head. So I just don't.
I agree.
I just don't want that.
But my thing with the whole weed law, again, you might hate me for this, and that's fine. If it's for a medical reason, then okay, I'm cool with it. But when you're just getting high just because you want to get high, I don't agree with it personally. Again, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my thing is like pain management. So whether you're using it, the medicinal stuff to cope, or again, if you just want the actual, smoke it, again, to me, it's still better than the other stuff. When folks were getting hooked on the oxytocin and all those other hardcore drugs and whatnot, and I mean that's why we got this epidemic now. Like the thing that tripped me out was maybe 10, 12 years ago when I started seeing people on the street that were like, why is that person homeless? Like, I didn't get it. Like, typically the profile of a homeless person was something very different. And sometimes I would even, guy would come by and talk to me, and I'm like, I'm listening to the guys like, you sound pretty smart. Like, why are you homeless? And you just understood that they got hooked on some prescription something, And I remember like 60 Minutes. I know they did a thing on these clinics and whatnot, that these doctors are basically getting people hooked on these things. It's like a legal drug trade. And I was like, wow, this. So at that point, I was like, you know what? Anything has got to be better than these guys going out, because that's what leads. So they once the things run out, they can't get a script, then they start breaking into places and trying to get the stuff or getting hooked on other things or whatever. So I always looked at those are the true gateways, but I never looked at weed certainly in the same context. So like I said, I'm definitely more neutral about it. I'm not as like against it as I once was, especially when you look at the alternatives.
If that's what you do, good for you. I'm not going to judge you for that. That's your prerogative. But personally, I'm not a big, that's my personal opinion behind that.
I got you.
I remember going to Comic-Con a few years back before me and my cousin stopped talking. This is way before COVID. I'm talking about like maybe 2 years before COVID.
Right.
And they were just flirting with the idea of just getting legalized. It was California was the first state was already legalized.
Right. Yep.
And they had a weed truck right in front of Comic-Con. So here's Comic-Con across the street. If you've ever been in Manhattan, you know how big those streets are to cross.
Yeah.
You see my cousin running across the fucking highway. I'm like, what the fuck? So you get something because it was, you could sell. I don't know how he was able to do that, guy, but in my business.
Yeah.
Calls me up. He goes, "Where are you, dude?" And we're like, I'm already in. I got checked in. I got scanned. So you do your thing. I'll meet you when you're ready. You're like, "Oh, come on, man, couldn't wait." Like, hell fucking no. I'm not gonna wait for that stupid shit. Now, if you swing like a nice juicy gyro, I'm like, yeah. I'm coming after that fucking thing. Oh, I'm ripping that fucking apart.
Right.
Hey, gyro's a gyro. Are you like, if it's a good gyro from King Souvlaki? Oh, those are fighting words right there, brother. Yeah. I'm like, we're gonna be fist fighting if you say you don't like King Souvlaki. I'm like, oh, come on, man. I will give you two black eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, it's and now there's like my neighborhood, there's like a dispensary on almost every corner. I mean, there's like just in my town, there's at least 5 or 6 dispensaries, and one is about to go up right around the corner from me. So it's I guess it's the latest cash cow, I guess, and people are kind of going in on it. But generally though, like
this also like the alcohol thing back in the day, that when they stopped prohibition for the alcohol. This is the Weez version of it now coming out of it finally. I'm like, again, I know if it makes money, I guess go for it. If it's legit and people can make money and nobody's getting hurt, I'm okay with it too.
Oh yeah, I mean, people buying land, buying weed farms and whatnot. That was like a big real estate thing. Hey, buy a couple acres and grow your own and sell or whatever. So it is what it is. But typically at gatherings, I tend to have that. Like I used to host a lot of fight parties. Like boxing, like pay-per-view, you buy the pay-per-view for $50, you get 20 guys over or whatever. Everyone pays like $2, and it's you got to order some pizza and some wings or whatever, and boom, you got an audience or whatnot. The only thing I would ask is just don't bring alcohol, because again, I don't want guy getting out and getting stopped or anything. I just didn't want that on my property or having any responsibility with that. Now I know they said legally said, oh, you're not responsible for an adult, but I just didn't want that on my conscience. So some guys literally wouldn't come for that reason, because it's like they wanted to smoke indoors and they needed the alcohol. It's like, look, if that's what you need, then
I'll be very honest with you.
Maybe next time.
I was a cigarette smoker. Mm-hmm. 3 things I always hated: smoking in a house, smoking in a car, and smoking around kids. It used to piss me off as a smoker. Mm-hmm. I used to go outside, and I actually enjoy smoking outside in negative weather, like -10 when I was a smoker, because you get fresh air. You get something about going outside in cold air or having a cigarette. I enjoyed that when I smoked.
Yeah.
But that 3 things always piss me off. I think it should be illegal to smoke in the house with kids and illegal to smoke in a car with kids.
Yeah, well, now we know about, again, the secondhand smoke. We didn't back when I was growing up, and again, my dad smoked every day also. So again, it didn't matter if your door was closed or whatever. The scent still got into your room or whatever. So I was probably exposed to secondhand smoke for about 20 years, and so I'm fortunate
we know the studies and people fucking still doing it.
Yeah,
like go outside. You don't be fucking fat, stupid, and lazy.
My dad was going to be in the living room in his lazy boy with his drink, with his ashtray, and
my mother
doing this thing.
She was the same way. Now vaping is a little different thing because vaping is no. There's have been studies so far. There's no secondhand smoking or secondhand vaping in that case.
Right.
So, and it doesn't stink. It smells like whatever, like cinnamon and apple, cherry, Fruit Loops, vagina, whatever you're vaping on. So okay,
do you do hookah as well?
I've done it. I'm not a big fan of it. It kind of coughs me up a little bit. Me and my cousin, when we were still talking, when we were hanging out all the time, we used to go to this club called Hookah Lounge. It was in Queens. I can't remember where in Queens. It went out of business after a couple of years because it was a small spot. And you know how rent is. But we used to, get a hookah once in a while, and I was really a big fan of it, to be honest with you.
Okay. No, I'm just curious. I know.
Now, cigar. Give me a good cigar. Even now, I don't smoke. I will have a nice cigar with a nice drink in my hand. I'm not denying because I have gone to a
lounge. Cigar lounge.
Yeah. Thank you. They're really nice. Like I met a lot of people there and learned a lot of things about business because a lot of businessmen. And one thing about cigars, people don't understand. You don't inhale cigars. You puff it because you taste it for the flavor. You do get the tobacco and that stuff in your lung, but if you try and inhale a cigar, good luck. You'll be coughing. You'll be coughing for months on that shit. Yeah. I learned my lesson the hard way.
Yeah. But you're still. But if you had to choose, and I know you've been trying to kick the habits and kind of stay clean with that. But what was your preferred? If you want a cigar, would you want a cigar? Would you want a cigarette, or would you want a vape? Whatever.
Towards my end of my my tobacco experience, it was vaping my option. Before that, it depends on my scenery. If I was at a cigar lounge, of course I'll have a cigar. Absolutely, I'll have a nice, a Dominican cigar or a Cuban cigar or something like that. Like I like the imports better; they taste a little better, in my personal opinion. Or maybe with a spice with a little vanilla because I like the little flavor ones. But with cigarettes, is again, if I'm at a bar and drinking, even when I quit a couple times before, I always, that's my business. I always went to the bars and I was able to throw the pack away the next day. Sometimes I couldn't do that. So I will. I do smoke more when I drink, and that is a Greek thing. Believe it or not, is a big European thing. I know a lot of Europeans who do smoke, and they struggle with the same fight I have. There's nothing wrong saying, "Listen, I relapsed again." There's nothing wrong with that. I have relapsed, and I'm fighting it again right now. I'll be straight up with everybody. I relapsed, and I'm fighting right now. I have the bags right behind me. I have patches. I'm gonna try the patches and the gum this time. See how they're going. I am not gonna give up quitting.
Now, do you think it's more so? And again, we're kind of going off topic a little bit here, but is it? Do you think it's more of a psychological need or is it a physical?
It's a stress. Stress for me.
Stress.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It triggers me every time I'm stressed out. So when I worked for St. Luke's, my last place I worked at, I know I couldn't smoke because they do nicotine tests randomly there. So it was more for an insurance thing than anything. So when I left that job and I went to my current, I went to the prison for 2 months and I hated that fucking job. I couldn't wait to get out of there. That triggered me, but I was able to, stop immediately. I triggered myself. I called myself out. Now my current job, I don't understand how this nursing home allows it, but everybody is allowed to smoke on property. Everybody.
Really?
Yeah, they have a section for smokers, and I'm very surprised.
Okay, yeah, they got. Okay, I got that. Yeah, I got that.
So that part I don't understand, and everybody, and that the stress behind the job and everything going on. There's a lot of things still going on. I mean, you spoke to it on private a little bit, and
now it's interesting that you mentioned the stress of it. And again, Catelia, I agree. Because if you're stressed, go to the gym. Absolutely. And again, shout out to some people who joined us tonight. Lana S. Thank you for joining us tonight. My auntie Loki. Again, thank you for also joining us tonight. Also, and good conversation going on in the threads. I know people certainly revealed some things in here. Again, 183307s have been sharing some personal content and whatnot. We appreciate you guys being a part of the chat. We appreciate you being keeping it respectful and just having a place where we can just all be transparent here. So this is part of the gray area. It's like there's no black and white.
To be honest with
anything.
Kat, who she was saying about vaping and cigarettes, go to the gym. Yes, that is my plan. That is part of my plan. That's why I got the patches. I don't have one on now, but I'm going to start the patches soon.
Right.
And I have the gum just in case when I need it between stuff. I know you can have a little more.
Right. But it's just interesting you mentioned the stress part of it, because I never knew. You're probably the first person I've heard talk about smoking for stress.
I know a lot of people who smoke because of stress.
I'm just saying, this is one first interaction I've had with a person that admitted that I get stressed and I smoke, but you never opted for like I said, a marijuana or whatever the ingredient is in the that you buy at the dispensaries. If you don't want to smoke it, you can eat it, or you can get whatever the agent is.
The edibles and stuff like that.
The edibles. So you never had an inkling to maybe try those. Rather than the smoking, especially if your issue is dealing with stress, or you just
I have lately thought about it, the idea, and flirted with it, but I won't do it without a medical card.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating one way or another. I was just curious.
The cat's 22 now with that, because I do work in the medical field. I mean, I work in dietary, so the medical field won't accept you. If you piss hot, and you will piss hot if you're on weed, they won't accept your medical card because it's not federalized yet. It's only per state. So I've seen people, great cooks, great chefs. They go through everything. They got a drug test. Oh, nicotine pass, fine. But you piss hot for marijuana. They test everything down the line. And they go, oh, but it's illegal. I got a medical card. Like, we don't give a shit about your card. But I'm going to assume.
Do you think we're on our way there? Do you think, say 5 years, 10 years, do you think it'll be federal legal at some point?
I think it will, because the money factor.
Because I think I don't know how many states legalize it now. I mean, it's like, it'd be it'd almost be kind of silly if it gets all 50 states that are legalized it, but it's still not a federal. I mean,
I know Pennsylvania is, you can get a medical, you can need a medical card. You can buy it pretty much. But dispensers are popping right and left everywhere now. It's like most vape shops now, they're only selling vape stuff. They're selling bongs and for everything, all that nice stuff too. Some of them are actually pretty cool. If you see those designs, like this. Oh, okay, this. But again, have I thought about it? Yes, but without medical card, I'm not doing it. Because again,
I think Boss Man is the further shout out to you for stopping through tonight. I appreciate you stopping through. Very one of the younger guys, certainly within the BMU space, but certainly very bright, very intelligent. I certainly appreciate his perspectives on things. He said the federal government's not playing with that. So I don't know if he's as optimistic that it may be federalized one day, but certainly he certainly talks about the vaping, because again, it said the nicotine helps with migraines. And it helps him. So yeah,
it helps me with my migraines all the time. And I realized that when I were for 9 months clean, I was getting more fucking headaches and into the migraines area. I was like, what the fuck? And I realized, okay, probably just smoking. And now I just relapsed again. I'm smoking again. I'm like, I'm not getting as many headaches again. Oh, that explains why. It doesn't mean I'm going to continue smoking. I'm trying to get away from that goddamn shit.
Right. And they still haven't kind of isolated enough where you just get the nicotine without because the main thing with the certain is the carcinogens that come from the smoking of it. So if you can get all the benefits without that's what I was asking. Is it more like a psychological thing more so than just a stress thing?
Yeah, I know it's a stress for me, because when I get really stressed out, that's the first thing I start craving, a cigarette.
Yeah.
Always. But I also realized, a lot of medications I was on, one of the ingredients is nicotine, actually. That's very, very low dose. In over the counter, like Advil migraine, nothing like that. I mean, like stuff your doctors have to give you a script for. And like, it's so small. I'm like, if you're not really looking for it, it's like usually the first layer of the ingredients is usually what the strongest is. Once you get further down, and you have like a couple of degrees, like say C vitamin, B vitamin, then you go, oh, nicotine. I'm like, wait a minute, nicotine?
Yeah.
And I asked my doctor, like, yeah, nicotine does help. I'm like, and I never processed it until recently. I'm like, oh, fuck you. And like, it's just one of those things. Like, vaping is not good for you either. We know it's a little better for you than cigarettes. Yeah. But it's still not good for you. Even in marijuana, you're inhaling something that's not supposed to be in. How is that good for you?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, at least with that, I mean, they've come out with, the I forget the name of THC, whatever it is. I mean, they put it in creams now, medical creams, edibles, or whatever. It seems like they've been able to do a lot more isolation on it. But I think people still like I still think they like the experience of the inhale, or they like the communal. Because I know jobs I've worked at, it was a common thing for people to go out and have that cigarette. It could be like 30 degrees outside, and people still be like, "Oh, come, I'm going for a cig. Come grab a cigarette." Too. So I think there is a communal aspect, just kind of tying it all back to what we've been talking about tonight, as far as this idea of gatherings, how people gather. That certainly I've always seen for a lot of people smoking as a communal activity. And we can get some people together, whether it be in the lounge, if your office provided a space outside or whatever for that, or a room or something that, that is something that people certainly do partake of, and they certainly enjoy it.
So you're talking about CBD, by the way.
CBD, yeah.
Even CBD, they have even beer oil. But here's a catch with CBD oil. A lot of people don't know this. Like, I'll use beer octane, for example. So if you sell beer CBD, you cannot sell on your main company. You have to have a separate company.
Correct.
Say CBD, say a beer octane, then beer octane CBD, because they have a tax different business license. Or it's weird. I don't understand. I'm not into that, stuff like that. But I want to throw it out there just in case anybody was looking to know the information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we're coming to the end of the show. Good discussion tonight. So again, for those who are coming in late, yes, you might have come in and talk about why they talking about weed, why they talking about vaping and everything else. The topic of the show tonight, we were talking about the idea of certainly get-togethers. How do you get together? How do you get together with family? Or how do you get together with friends and whatnot? And is this something that we're losing in the common culture? Back in the day, again, for the black community, we still have the cookout. That's like our last bastion. You got the cookout, you got the family reunion, you got your holidays. But then what about Sunday dinner? What about those weekly gatherings that you would have with with your family? What about that communal aspect? What about the block party, where you had like everybody on the block, it was, kind of had stuff? Are we getting together in the ways that we used to? And if not, then why? And is that tied to personal family challenges and things that haven't been resolved that's keeping people apart? Is it the busyness of our culture that's keeping people from getting together? Is it the distance between us that's causing it, or or a combination of things that we just don't have that sense of family and community that we had to when you had everybody at the house, and you always seemed to have enough. You never ran out of food. You made sure that everybody got a bite to eat, and even if you weren't even related to the family, you were a friend of the family, or you were the boyfriend or whatever. That was your first chance for everybody to meet the boyfriend. My kid, that's one thing with my especially my oldest, she's like almost terrified to bring any guy over, because she just knows that I'm going to be looking at him. And if it's a big family gathering, she's got some uncles. She's got one uncle's about two guys over 6'5", 250 pounds plus. And everybody's kind of like, hey, it's like, so it's like, if you're not comfortable with bringing them over, then why are you even with them if you know what standard is?
Let me ask you this question. Have you ever thought about doing the bad boy thing with them?
No, I'm pretty reasonable. I only had to check one guy once. And it actually is my middle daughter's her current boyfriend now. I like him a lot. I think he might be the guy. I only had to check him one time. One time he came over and he called me dad. And the only thing I said, now again, I didn't go off on him. I said, look, I appreciate that. I like you very much. But I said, look, you can call me dad when you walk my daughter down the aisle and I give her to you. At that point, you call me dad. And I just left it at that. I didn't go ham. But I just wanted to kind of get that message across. We ain't on that level until you do the right.
Let me ask you this question now.
Yeah.
What happened if he called you old man?
Well, I don't look, old man. I'll still kick your butt. So
Let me ask you a question before we go. Have we ever done a show on cigarettes before? Over tobacco and all that stuff between different the gray area stuff.
No, we can certainly. I wouldn't mind going over that, because I know we did the show on tattoos, which I think was certainly well received and viewed. Thank you everybody who checked out that show. Go back and listen to it. But smoking, any kind of smoke, vape, from peace pipes to Asian to whatever the culture is,
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be I think that's certainly something we can.
So here, let me go over the schedule for the next couple weeks, and BMU, I will text you this so you know. So we'll do it next week. We're going to see stickers for next week with Q&A. A week after that, we'll do workforce. In 3 weeks, we're going to do talking about money, and in 4 weeks, we'll be talking about TV shows. Sounds like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Except if we change it like we always do.
Oh yeah. At this point, I know one time the tattoo show was actually my idea. I texted him at 3 a.m. I don't know. I just got this idea in my head. I texted him at 3. Now he thought it was for that Sunday that we did the show. I was like, I was just giving you an idea. But the energy was such where we just went with the show. So yeah, so I think the gray area going forward, we try as best as we can to put a schedule and agenda together to keep people in. It can go random at any time. I think, if the spirit hits us, we gonna go. I'm gonna be led by the spirit in terms of how the show comes off. If we think if the conversation is worth it. But again, I just want to thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. And again, I really appreciate the dialogue that's been taking place. Certainly in the chat, and yeah, I mean, people deal with some stuff. Family is difficult. And I get that, and it certainly affects our ability or our desire to want to get together with family, and so and it's not always fun. But yeah, but as Milani's saying, bring back summer block parties in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. All right. So let me know if there's doing one. I'll come down. But for sure, we want to but encourage again, keeping those bonds tight. Helping to resolve if things can be people can be reconciled to one another. Certainly, I think that's a noble aim and effort to do so. But the work has to be put in order for that to happen. But as we close the show, grooming. Any last comments on your end before we close out?
Nothing. Keep touch on the shows. Next couple weeks, we got some really big bombs dropping on my side. I know BMU has a lot of things going on. Thursday, we're talking about if you're ready to be a father on my side of the channel. Whoever wants to join, please, is at 9:30. You're more welcome to come on. I know BMU
I've been asking that question a lot as of late because I don't know how many men actually look into that. They want the girl, they want the relations. I don't know if you want, I don't know if you want the kids, but I think that's certainly something to consider.
I think it's a serious question. I'm going to reach out to some people I haven't yet, so look out for your emails, please. I'm going to be sending some emails asking people to come on. Some new faces we definitely need on my side of the show. But I know BMU has a lot of stuff coming up too, so please keep an eye on his stuff too. Make sure you post this stuff out, like share, all this stuff, please. Absolutely. It helps us out, helps my side of the channel, it helps BMU side of the channel. We're all one happy, so fucking family. All right, a little too much, but anyway, get that point. Except that Comic-Con again, I'm gonna keep driving down your throats. If you'll be at Comic-Con, please reach out to us. Let us know you're gonna be there. Take a picture of
October 19th.
Yep, and this guy is signing autographs. Yeah, this guy's signing autographs. So letting you know.
Yes, on behalf of the 7B network, yes, you can get an actual with the president of the 7B network. So it's certainly be my privilege to take a picture with you, and yes, you can take my autograph as well. And unlike Comic-Con, I won't be charging you $300 for it. I promise.
It's not $300. It depends. Okay, so let me debunk that. If it's the main guy who's running that show that day, you have one main celebrity, like say Chris Evans. He's going to charge $300, $400, even $500. So then you have the other guys who have tables. They're going to be like $45, $50.
Yeah.
So hey, some of them want to charge nothing. I've been there and I'm like, I'm not trying to just do this for fun. I'm like, seriously? Yeah. Like, okay, do you want no. I'm like, we'll take pictures, they'll shoot some videos with you, something like. But yeah, we're definitely by the way, did you check the list yet at Comic-Con? Any chance to look over it?
I haven't had a chance. I've been swamped, man. I'm just trying to survive September. I got, like I said, I'm literally logging back on after I get off the show. And I'll be up probably for a couple more hours working. That's the grind that I'm in right now. So hopefully we can I can have September. That's also 1 week before my birthday as well. So I definitely want to go into that birthday week, just, sort of stress-free and being able to, enjoy all the, what Comic-Con
Before we
has
go, we have a question in the chat. If I can hold 50 for what? I'm like, I don't understand the question. You see it?
I meant to ask if I can.
if I can hold 50. I don't know. I maybe that's for the autograph. $50 for an autograph. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what that means. But
we do ship too. We have if you want to send your request how you want to write it, we can do a picture like the same. We have a background of us. We can print it. I can laminate it for you. And I can me and Poe can sign it, and we can like that'll be. I don't need 50. What about like 30? Think it's fair?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Why not? But man, boss man, yeah, that show on Thursday when you talk about Are You Ready to Be a Dad? Yeah, we would love to have you. Certainly is. Well, he would like to have you. I'm an occasional guest on the show. So more than like it's like a 50-50 if I'm going to be on there or not. But certainly he would love to have you part of that conversation. So again, if you join that show, yeah, he'll drop you a link. Yeah.
Yeah. This is literally my all my channels right there. Here, let me actually drop it on this side too. So reach out to me. I should have my email and everything's in there too. So definitely reach out to me. I'll be happy to have you. And I can send you all the information you need, the link and time and everything.
Sounds good. So,
all right, again, you ready to go?
Yes, sir. So again, thank you again for joining us for this conversation. I'm Mr. Bennett. He is Grooming and Reviews 101, a.k.a. Sparta! A.k.a. the Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Poliotis. This is the gray area. Thank you once again for joining us. Enjoy your week. Be safe. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.
It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. I hope you all here for the ride. Come inside, cause it's going down tonight. Only here for one night, no lies. Come and saddle up a ride. Need a yeehaw, you know how here for one night and we just wanna party. In a fast car, a Ferrari. It's a push start, I don't need a car key. Slide on Broadway, and it's gnarly. On a late night, but I'm not tardy. Right on time for the parties and Barbies. Strolling with a chunk of green like a golf swing. Hey. Bottles on ice, mess around these skates. If I gotta say it twice, then I got nothing to say. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. I hope you're all here for the ride. Come inside, cause it's going down tonight. Only here for one night, no lies. Come and saddle up a ride. Come and kiss me up, it's going down like a train with no brakes, I'm not slowing down. See it showing